Better. Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for logging into the Delaware Odyssey of the Mind Judges Training 2018. I'm going to wait just about 2 or 3 more minutes to see if we get a few more people logged onto the channel before we actually get started. So thank you for your patience. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2018 Delaware Odyssey of the Mind Judges Training. I want to take a minute to thank everybody for taking the time to go through this training program. This is a first for us in trying to reduce the amount of time that our judges have to actually spend away from home. We've moved to online training. This is the general training, and you will also have problem-specific training at the time that you've signed up for. My name is Stephanie Wagner. I'm the Delaware State Tournament Director and have for the past 2 years been the Delaware Training Director. I'm going to start the presentation now. We'll see if anyone else joins us as we continue. I want to start out with a brief history lesson about Odyssey of the Mind and where it got started. It all began when a professor, Dr. Sam Miklas, tasked his engineering students with crossing a body of water without a boat. It certainly was a unique challenge, and what he really wanted to see was the level of ingenuity and risk-taking that the students would engage in. He actually scored the challenge based on how much risk they took and how creative they were, rather than whether or not they were successful. The problem was so popular with not only the students, but the local press. By 1979, a creative problem-solving competition for children had begun. And in 1980, the program started in Delaware. The Odyssey of the Mind today is an international creative problem-solving competition. Thousands of students from kindergarten through college participate every year. Most states in the United States have programs, and there are competitions all around the world in places like Canada, Mexico, Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea. Last year, we even had a few teams from Russia at World Finals. DELCAPS, a term that you may hear, stands for Delaware Creative Activities and Problem Solving, and we are the nonprofit organization that plans and executes Odyssey of the Mind competitions and activities in Delaware. This year, more than 200 teams will be participating in our tournaments. So if you're not familiar with the program, what is Odyssey of the Mind? It is a program where teams of students work together to solve original, fun problems by using their creativity. All of that creativity is bottled into an 8-minute presentation. You should expect to see the unexpected. If you take a look at the pictures on the screen, in the middle, right underneath the word unexpected, is a team in the balsa wood problem stacking what appears to be hundreds of pounds onto a 15-gram balsa wood structure. In the lower corner in the blue, you will see an example of a ride-on vehicle from a previous problem. And in the upper corner, the human peacock, you'll see an example of a costume that students have put together. In all the other pictures, you'll see examples of props, costumes, and settings that students have used over the past years to complete their problems. So part of Odyssey is the competition. We compete in divisions based on the grade level of the oldest team member. The primary division is grades K through 2, and it's non-competitive. In the primary division, all of the teams complete the same problem. In Division 1, the grades are 3 through 5. Division 2, grades 6 through 8, or roughly middle school. Division 3, grades 9 through 12, or roughly high school. And Division 4, the college and continuing adult education group. I will answer one question that we get a lot, and that is, can a group of 6th graders combine on a team with a group of 5th graders? They absolutely can. They just must compete in Division 2 because the oldest students on the team are in 6th grade. The competition is divided into 3 score components. The long-term problem, which is worth 200 points. These problems are provided annually by Odyssey of the Mind, and the teams work on them for months. There are 6 problems provided. The first one is for the primary division, and the other 5 can be chosen by any of the various age groups. And we'll go through each of those 5 problems later in the presentation. The style component is 50 points. It's scored as part of the long-term problem and is an added element that enhances the performance. And finally, the spontaneous component is worth 100 points. This is a separate portion of the competition where the teams solve a problem right on the spot. It's broken into 3 different types. The team could get any one of these 3 types. The verbal problem, where they respond to a prompt or possibly tell a story. The hands-on problem, where they build something or manipulate materials. The verbal hands-on problem, where they make or manipulate something, then make a verbal response of some kind. These problems are assigned when the team walks into the room. I just put my cat out of the room. I apologize to everybody who could hear that. She decided she wanted to be involved in the training. So back to Odyssey. Odyssey is a competition, but it really is so much more. The important thing that students get out of Odyssey are that the skills they learn. Students learn teamwork and collaboration and gain independence, confidence, and learn to compromise. They learn to solve problems through critical and creative thinking and risk-taking. These are all skills that will serve them well throughout their lives. Really, Odyssey is about the creative journey and the student growth. So we've talked a lot about Odyssey being a creative problem-solving competition. What does creativity look like in Odyssey? What should you expect to see? You should expect to see teams that take new approaches to solving the problems. We'd like to see risk-taking through innovation, and that means sometimes they don't accomplish the task successfully, but taking risks and being willing to fail allows the students to investigate and push the edge of what they're capable of and to learn new skills. We like to see teams create original characters and situations. Sometimes in some problems, they're expected to use characters that already existed. For example, this year, our teams in problem 3 will be using classic stories. We like to see the teams using all kinds of trash and recyclables. They combine them and repurpose them artfully and creatively. Sometimes you'd be amazed at what they can get out of the recycling bin. A team should be using common items in unpredictable ways. And we like to see that they've engaged multiple senses. As always, you will expect to see a wide range of solutions that are age appropriate. What you would see from a K through 2 team in primary is going to look very different than a high school team who's been doing Odyssey of the Mind for years. So now we'll start talking about judging, which is why we're all here. Judging an Odyssey of the Mind. We understand the history and some of the structure of the program. Let's get to the details of what it means to judge at a tournament and what you can expect. The first thing I want to address is the possibility of a conflict of interest. As a judge, you will have access to problem information that could help a team maximize its score. If, as a judge, you have a close relationship with a participating student or coach, you should ask to be assigned to a different problem. Teachers may judge teams from their own schools as long as they don't have a close relationship with anyone on the team as a student or coach. If you have any doubts about whether or not you have a conflict of interest, please talk to the problem captain when you go to problem-specific training, and they can transfer you to one of the other problems. So what are your responsibilities as a judge? Scoring judges evaluate solutions based on the problem's criteria. Each problem has a very long list of criteria, items to be scored, with detailed information. And when you go through problem-specific training, the problem captains will describe all of those to you and what you should be looking for. Scoring judges also record what they observe, and they observe carefully. All judges must be present for the entire day to see every team and may not leave until released by the head judge or problem captain. Judges never let teams compete in unsafe conditions, and we will talk about what that means a little bit later. Judges encourage teams and help them to relax. Our primary goal is to make sure that everybody has fun on the day of the tournament. So these are the safety rules. They are extensive. There are more safety rules in the program guide. The program guide is available at odysseyofthemind.com, and it's also available at a link that you had attached to your email. Some of the rules we want to point out are that teams may not cause damage to the facility or, obviously, injury to any person. There are items that are not permitted. That list includes, but is not limited to, helium balloons that are not weighted down, dry ice, and you need to check for it in containers, items that leave a residue, and lighted candles, or really any kind of flame. All team members must have their feet covered. Any team member that loses a foot covering must stop performing until it is replaced. If they lose a part of the decoration that was added to their shoe as part of their costume, that is okay. If they lose the entire shoe, they must stop performing until they get the shoe back on their foot. We only allow commercially available sealed batteries to be used unless a problem has specified otherwise. Actual weapons are prohibited and will be confiscated. The more difficult piece is that replicas that look real are also prohibited. You can read the program guide, as I mentioned, for a complete list of safety rules, but these are some of the most important. You want to read the problem that you're assigned to very carefully. An example of that would be the wording, overall creativity of the performance, overall creativity of the theme of the performance, overall quality of the performance, and artistic quality are not the same thing. They would all be looked at differently and scored differently. Just slight changes in the wording makes a large difference. The problem captains will go over each of the problems in detail and provide more information during the problem-specific training. The Odyssey philosophy for judging is that all judges are responsible for providing teams with a positive experience. Teams should be complemented regardless of the success of the solution. We only assess penalties when it's absolutely necessary to maintain a level playing field in the competition. If you're unsure about a penalty, always give the team the benefit of the doubt. So going back to our scoring components in more detail, the long-term problem, as I mentioned, is worth 200 points. Style is worth 50 points, and spontaneous is worth 100 points. There are a total of 350 points possible. Now, in case you happen to be a judge that's assigned to style or spontaneous and think that your scores might not have an effect on the outcome of the overall competition, most Odyssey competitions in the top 3 or 4 places are decided by just a matter of a few points. So every single one of these 350 points is very important to each team who competes. Going to break down each of the portions, the parts of the competition. Scoring the long-term problem. If you're assigned to a long-term problem, each problem has a scoring form that defines the criteria to be judged and the associated point values. Each team is to be scored individually based on how well they satisfy the criteria, the list of items on that scoring form. The team's creative process and the details observed up close during the Q&A session are considered when scoring. The most important thing on this slide is that teams should not be compared to one another. They should be compared to that form. How well did they address each item on the form? Not how well did they do compared to the team right before them and the team right after them. There are 2 types of scoring in all of the long-term problems, or most of the long-term problems. Objective scoring is if the objective is completed, the team earns the points. Partial credit cannot be scored, it's all or nothing. For example, in the vehicle problem, if the vehicle is supposed to cross a line and the vehicle does not cross the line, the team would earn 0 points for that criterion. If the vehicle crosses the line and the judges see it, then the team will earn all of the points for that criterion. The team may have multiple attempts to complete the task unless otherwise specified in the problem. So in the vehicle problem that I used as an example, if the team hasn't crossed the line and they need to, they may continue to try to cross that line until they're actually successful at it. Some problems might prevent you from repeating, but most of them will allow the teams to try over and over again until they've accomplished the objective. The objective must be observed or heard by at least one member of the judging team during the performance for the team to be awarded the points. All judges will have the same score for this item. So again, going back to the car in problem 1, if one judge saw the car cross the line, all of the judges scoring that problem will award points for that objective. Video and audio recordings provided by the audience later cannot be used to validate this. There is no instant replay rule in Odyssey of the Mind. The other type of scoring is the subjective scoring. All of the problems include items that require subjective scoring. Some things that you need to consider are reading the wording carefully, follow the guidelines provided by the problem captains, and give credit for the effort as well as the result. We're moving on to the next component, the next scoring component, and that is style. The style is judged during the performance of the long-term problem, and it is the elaboration of the long-term problem. The style score gives teams an opportunity to showcase their talents and interests. You may see musical, artistic, dance, or writing talent on display, and probably some other talents as well. The team may strive to use unusual materials in non-traditional ways. Frequently, teams will choose as one of their style items, they will choose creative use of materials in a costume or creative use of materials in a prop that they're using on stage. When you're scoring style, you will be given a style form that defines the items to be scored. The 4 elements that the team chooses should come together to enhance or elaborate the performance. The team may not select an item that is scored in the long-term problem as one of their style items. That is in larger type because it is very important. If a team has a character that is being scored in the long-term problem as one of the score criterion, then the team cannot use that character again on their style form. All of the style items must be something separate from the items on the long-term problem. As with everywhere else in Odyssey, the description of the item to be scored must be read carefully. The clown character versus the creative use of materials in the clown costume are 2 very different things. If a team were to choose the clown character as their style item, as a style judge, I would have to evaluate the clown character's costume, the clown character's makeup, the clown character's performance, how the clown character affects the entire solution. I would have to take the clown character into account from the entire character. And perhaps the clown character's performance wasn't that good, so that would lower my score as a style judge. If that same team had said creative use of materials in the clown costume, and they had made a clown costume completely out of recycled materials that was very interesting and unusual, the team would actually get a better score on that item. The last part of the scoring component, spontaneous, is the separate problem that every team must solve. They may receive a verbal problem where the team gives responses to a problem. The judges listen and score each response as creative or common. So in the spontaneous verbal problems, the judge would be listening carefully to every response the team gives and giving each one of those a creative or common score. The second kind of spontaneous problem a team could get is the hands-on problem. In the hands-on problem, the team will build something or manipulate something. And the judges would evaluate the teamwork, the creativity, and how well the team met the objective. In a hands-on verbal problem, you'll see a combination of the two types of problems, requiring the team to build or manipulate something and also to give a verbal response. In these kinds of problems, the judges would evaluate teamwork, creativity, and score each response as creative or common. What will your student interactions be like? We want you to always be positive and supportive. Smile if you can. In spontaneous, you may read directions, answer questions, and record responses. In the long-term problems, your interactions will include post-performance questions, outside assistance questions, and sticky notes given to the team. The post-performance questions, I'm going to go through each one of these interactions. The post-performance questions will occur after a team completes their long-term performance. The judges go up with the team and interact with them. You may look at their costumes, props, and sets up close. Ask questions about their creative and design process, and the problem captains will help you during problem-specific training on some of these questions that you can ask. Find out who built or made things. Encourage the students to actually brag about who did what, and they will usually do that. They will usually do that without much prompting. They really actually, most students enjoy this part of the competition, interacting with the judges. That brings us to the concept of outside assistance, because the questioning portion is sometimes where you discover outside assistance. A team solution is supposed to be theirs alone. You may see things that you think are unlikely from children, but you will be surprised at what they can do on their own. Gentle questioning, rather than interrogation, will reveal quickly whose ideas you are seeing and which team members are responsible for the various parts of the solution. If students know that someone else has helped them with their solution, they frequently will just blurt it out during the questioning. "Oh, my mom did that," or "That was my dad's idea." If you were to become aware that someone not on the team contributed to the solution, you discuss it with the rest of the judging team. Remember that outside assistance penalties are not meant to be punitive. They are there to level the playing field. The penalty should only remove the points the team scored because of the outside assistance. The last student interaction that occurs are the sticky notes. The infamous sticky notes. What are they? Students value these as much or more than the score. The notes allow the long-term judges, it also allows the style judges, they have sticky notes as well, to give the students positive feedback about their performance. Sticky notes are always positive, but avoid superlatives like best, most, finest. If you use the word best, that was the best performance I've seen today, the students may be led to believe that they're going to have the highest score. That can sometimes cause expectations that they will place higher than they do. So we want to avoid superlatives. Also, avoid making suggestions. These would be outside assistance if the team continues on to the next level of competition. So I've given you some guidelines on what to write, what not to write. What should you write on your sticky notes? Here are some examples. I enjoyed the humor in your performance. The clown character's performance was exciting. Your sets were really bright and colorful. Your music and dance really added to your performance. And there's always the good standby sticky note. I enjoyed your performance. So let's take a look at the actual judging positions. We'll look at the judging team and the various roles on each team. We're going to start with the problem captain. The problem captain is actually a Del Caps person who volunteers year-round and is the state authority on the problem that you're assigned to. If you have any questions or concerns during training or the tournament, you would see the problem captain. You will meet the problem captains for your problems at the problem-specific training. So on the judging team itself, the first judge we're going to discuss is the head judge, the judging team leader. The head judge is the liaison between judges, coaches, and PCs. They're really the only person who is actively talking to all three groups. The head judge would be expected to deliver scores to coaches, answer their questions, and manage difficult situations. As with all competitions, sometimes when you deliver a score to a coach, they may have disagreements, and the head judge is expected to talk to the coach, try to answer their questions. If that's not successful, they would bring the problem captain in. And if neither one of them can talk the coach down, they may bring in the tournament director. The head judge must be very familiar with the problem and penalties. They must discuss any large penalties with the judging team so that it can be presented properly to the coach. The head judge manages the schedule and teams with issues. For example, a car accident on the way, a broken prop. We had props fall off the back of a truck one year. We've even had a poor coach whose foot was run over in the parking lot. So we try, when at all possible, to accommodate teams with unexpected things coming up and to put them somewhere into the schedule where the team will be able to compete, put together whatever they need to, get the team back together and compete successfully later in the day. The head judge is responsible for reporting any single penalties of more than 25 points to the problem captain and the tournament director. And at the end of the day, the head judge checks with the problem captain and score room and releases the judging team to go home. We do that because all of the coaches have the right to contest their scores for 30 minutes after they receive the score. So the last team of the day has 30 minutes after they receive scores to ask questions. We'd like to keep the judging team there so that if they ask questions, we can answer the questions and, if we needed to, make adjustments to the score. Well, I mentioned that sometimes there are conflicts with coaches and they don't necessarily agree with what the judging team has decided. They do have an alternative, and that's called a tribunal. Should one of the teams question a scoring element and it cannot be resolved first by the head judge, then by the problem captain, the team may request a tribunal. Teams may only request a tribunal for objective scores where the question is an interpretation of the rules. If the team says that their car crossed the line and the entire judging team says it did not, that is the final answer. Those types of scores cannot be subject to tribunals. Tribunals only occur when there's a difference of opinion, where the team has interpreted an objective that they needed to do something and the judging team has interpreted the objective to say that they did not accomplish that. They can request tribunals at that time. And that would be after they've talked to the head judge and the problem captain. If the team coach is still not satisfied, then they would request a tribunal. There are two types of judges. There are non-scoring judges and there are scoring judges. A few of the non-judging positions play an important role in providing a quality experience for everyone attending the tournament, but they're not responsible for scoring the teams. So let's look at these positions and their responsibilities. First, we have the staging area judge. This is a very important position because they're the first point of contact with the team. They spend time with the team. They review the paperwork that the team has with them and will give them time to fix clerical errors. They check the team sign, which must include the membership number and name. Other information is allowed, but it must include the membership number and name. The team sign is supposed to be visible during the entire performance. If it falls over and you can't see it for a few seconds, there's no penalty on that. Hopefully at some point a team member will just stand it back up again. The staging area judge also looks to see if what the team has is included on the cost list. If personal jewelry is being worn by team members, a watch or a personal necklace or earrings, and they're not part of the problem solution in any way, those items do not have to be included on the cost list. So team members are allowed to wear personal jewelry and not included on the cost list if it has nothing to do with the solution of the problem. The staging area judge is also the first safety checkpoint. They're going to be looking for items that are not allowed. And one of the ones that we have probably some of the most contact with is dry ice. A lot of teams will try to use it even though it's not allowed, and you have to ask them. There is a checklist that each staging area judge goes through as they talk to the team members. Non-team members are allowed to help move solution items into check-in and the staging area at the team's direction. So parents and siblings and friends can help move things from one place to the other. They're not allowed to put things together. They're not allowed to change something. They're not allowed to fix something. They may merely move items at the direction of the team. If the staging area judge were to have concerns about the team's solution, because they're not a scoring judge, they would make notes on the staging area checklist. For example, the staging area judge might suspect that there's outside assistance, or they might even see some outside assistance because they're standing with the team and other members of their cheering squad. They may see someone doing something and they would make a note on the staging area checklist that they saw or they suspected outside assistance. It would then be up to the scoring judges on the judging team to determine if there was outside assistance and assess a penalty if necessary. The most important part of the staging area judge's job is to keep the team calm and have fun. Crack a few bad jokes, get them laughing. It's all about having a good time and keeping them calm. The timekeeper also interacts with the team, and they should have consistent interactions with teams. This is the second judge to talk to the team during competition. This is also the person who welcomes the audience and introduces the team. That introduction sets the tone. You could think warm-up act, except we don't want to steal the team's thunder. Start time, and depending on the problem criteria, may stop the time when the time is up. So the timekeeper really is the timekeeper. They start the time, and then they follow the rules for each problem about stopping time. They also would stop the team if a team signals it is finished before they run out of time. The timekeeper also has the important job of keeping the judging team on schedule. Problem 4 has some unique judging positions. The weigh-in judges interact with all of the teams in Problem 4. They're responsible for weighing and measuring all of the balsa wood structures. They do allow teams to make changes so that they can meet the criteria. The balsa wood structure must be less than 15 grams and taller than 8 inches. The score checkers review the judges' score sheets, enter scores into the computer, check entered scores on the computer for accuracy against the written score sheets, and interact with the score room. This is a very important job because we certainly don't want to make mistakes with the team's scores. So moving on to the scoring judges. These positions are responsible for observing and recording the results of each team's performance. Let's look at each type of scoring judge and review their responsibilities. Long-term judges. Each judge should be consistent from team to team when interpreting the rules. You may not be scoring the exact same number as the judge sitting next to you on the same objective score, but you need to be consistent within your own scoring. Judges on the team may not score the same scores on the let me repeat that. Each judge should be consistent from team to team when interpreting the rules. You should always apply the same ideas to each team. Your score may not be the same as the judge sitting next to you, but your scores should be consistent from team to team. Judges on the team may not score the same scores on the subjective scoring items. It's okay as long as each judge is consistent in their own scores. If there is an actual disagreement on the interpretation of a scoring item, the judges should discuss this first with the head judge and possibly the problem captain. You should carefully record and score what you have seen. On objective points, if one judge sees it, then all judges score it. So let me make sure I'm clear since I messed up the wording. Subjective scoring items may be different between judges. It is subjective to your thoughts and ideas. The objective scores should be the same for every judge. If one judge sees it, then all judges score it. You will be expected to look at the solution up close during questions and answers with the team. Ask questions that encourage the team to talk or even brag about their accomplishments. And please show appreciation for every performance. Try to give them smiles. There's nothing worse than performing in a room full of long faces. It really settles the kids down if all the judges are smiling at them. The style judges also evaluate and score consistently throughout the day. They also look at the solution up close during Q&A with the team, and they're also expected to ask questions to encourage the team to talk. One difference for the style judges is that there's no double dipping. If an item's been scored in the long-term problem, it may not be scored for style, and the style judges are only responsible for the items on the style form. The style judges also would show appreciation for every performance and maintain a nice smile for all the kids. Spontaneous judges really see the kids more up close and personal. Each team completes a spontaneous problem, one spontaneous problem, and it requires their impromptu problem-solving skills and effective teamwork. The judges will observe their responses or the things they build and record the score. The judges would evaluate creativity and teamwork. So we've talked about all of the judging positions. What are this year's problems? The long-term problems for 2017-18 are the primary problem. This is grades K through 2. All students in the primary division, grades K through 2, will solve this problem. We're cooking now. Creativity heats up as teams create their own cooking show where a chef gives an original cooking lesson to a special guest. The show takes place from a creative kitchen where balsa wood is used to support a cookbook, a bowl, and an object of the team's choosing. A special guest will visit and learn to cook from the chef by using team-created representations of food. Problem 1 is the vehicle problem that includes a performance. This year, it's triathlon travels. The team will design, build, and drive ride-on vehicles that compete in an Odyssey-style triathlon. The vehicle will try to score in curling, hit the right targets when jousting, and run track by navigating a course in 2 directions. Between these events, the team will entertain the audience and the vehicle will change appearance. All of the action will take place in a team-created performance that features the vehicle's triathlon travels, a commentator, and a coach. A vehicle could look like this one from a previous year. This was one of the larger ride-on vehicles, so you could see something like this. Problem 2, the technical problem, is called emojis. Speak for yourself. This is a technical problem that features a creation in 3 dimensions that communicates the life story of a once famous but now forgotten emoji. Teams will create a performance where the emojis demonstrate special functions like growing, turning into a team member, and changing into a different emoji. Performances will also include a choreographed dance, a technical representation of texting, and sounds to enhance the performance. There is a twist. No spoken language is allowed. There will be many approaches. Here's an example of a previous year's performance. This was actually from our Autobot problem. And in this picture, you can see some of the costuming and things that a team might build to solve a problem. Problem 3 is our classics problem. This year, it's called Mockumentary? Seriously? This is a performance problem that combines a mockumentary with a piece of classic literature. There are often 2 sides to the same story. In this problem, characters don't always agree as they recount the classic story where they appeared. The team will select a classic from a list and present different characters in a humorous, documentary-style performance where details are added, denied, exaggerated, and disputed. There will be interviews, behind-the-scenes clips, and voiceovers that take the audience through the story and help present the events as they really took place. You might see anything in these solutions. This is a past problem 3 performance. In this particular classic problem, they were looking at classic art. Every year, we look at a different type of classic, whether it's art, literature, architecture, could be music, could be just about anything. And you can see just about anything in one of these performances. Problem 4 is the balsa wood structure problem. This year, it's called Animal House. This problem requires the team to design and build a structure made only of balsa wood and glue. Over the years, Odyssey of the Mind teams have designed structures that changed into many unbelievable shapes and sizes that balanced and held as much weight as possible. This year, teams will turn their balsa wood structures into animals. Since animals need to eat, they must be fed. The structure will have its appearance transformed and explained during an original performance. During the performance, the structure must hold the team-created food while it supports weights. Some teams won't hold much weight. Some teams will hold a lot. Here's a previous solution by a team. In this picture, you can see a team member placing weights onto the crusher board, which is the red board above the red and yellow structure. Inside of that yellow area, around the pole, you can see the balsa wood structure. They will place as many weights as they can onto that balsa wood structure until the structure either crushes or the time's up. I can tell you, when you're standing near one of these crusher boards as a high school team puts hundreds of pounds of weights onto it and it actually crashes down onto that structure, it's quite exciting. In problem 5, our performance problem, it's this year called a stellar hangout. It's a performance problem depicting a stellar hangout. In the outreaches of the universe, there is an intergalactic hangout where all sorts of creatures from different worlds stop, eat, refuel, and relax. Teams will create a humorous performance centered on this science fiction hangout that includes original creatures, foods, and a search for space treasure. There will also be a worker character, entertainment, and a futuristic map at the hangout. Experienced teams strive to enhance their solution with music, dance, verse, and possibly some type of artwork. While there could be many different solutions, here's an example of what you could see. This is from a previous year's problem in problem 5. In addition to the scoring, we also have special awards in Odyssey of the Mind, the Renatra Fusca Creativity Award and Omer's Award. Judges should always remember to consider these 2 awards when they see something that is really out of the ordinary. The Renatra Fusca Creativity Award is the most highly coveted award in the Odyssey of the Mind program. It's awarded to teams or individuals who exhibit exceptional creativity through their problem solution. Success is not a criterion. The award is a way to acknowledge creative thinking and risk-taking. Award winners automatically advance to the next level of competition. And only long-term style or spontaneous judges may make this nomination. The other is Omer's Award. It's named for the raccoon mascot of Odyssey of the Mind. It recognizes teams or individuals who demonstrate outstanding sportsmanship, exemplary behavior, or exceptional talent. Students, coaches, parents, and officials are all eligible to nominate or be nominated. It is not intended to reward creativity. So, wrapping it up, we are going to talk about what makes a great judge or official, what are the important dates you need to remember, and what do you need to do next. The most important thing we want you to take away from this is that you should have a good time. You're encouraged to wear creative hats to get into the mood of the event. Judging teams create and provide witty responses to judges. Are you ready? The scorekeeper asks the team, are you ready? They come up with a witty response. And they ask, judges, are you ready? And the judges have a witty response. And then time begins and the performance starts. Judges are encouraged to laugh and smile and to make the students laugh and smile. What makes a great official? Please be punctual. We have many performances to squeeze into a relatively short time period, and we need to stay on schedule. Know the rules of your problem. Always score consistently. and don't look to penalize. So what makes a great Odyssey of the Mind judge? A great attitude. Smile, relax the team, enjoy the performances, congratulate the teams, and most important of all, have fun. The dates that you need to know, I'm going to go through the tournaments first. You will have signed up for one or more of these tournaments. The Ocean Regional Tournament, which is teams competing from Smyrna and South in Delaware, is on March 3rd, 2018 at Laurel Middle High School in Laurel, Delaware. The River Regional Tournament, which is teams north of Smyrna, is on March 10th, 2018 at Kirk Middle School Smith Elementary in Newark, Delaware. And the Delaware State Tournament for all teams that make it from regionals to states is on March 24th, 2018 at William Henry Middle School in Dover, Delaware. Your problem captain will have the specific report time and problem site or location when you go to problem-specific training. The problem-specific training that I've been referring to occurs on February 10th, 2018 at Milford Central Academy High School from 9 a.m. to noon or 1 to 4 p.m. Or on February 17th, 2018 at Brandywine High School from 9 a.m. to noon or 1 to 4 p.m. You may choose one of these 4 sessions. You are only required to go to one of these 4 sessions. They will all be the same for each of the problems. And what do you need to do now that you've completed this training? Your training as a judge is not complete until you take the General Rules Certification Test. A link to the test and a link to the recording of this presentation can be found above the comments section on the YouTube screen, as well as in your original email with the link to this presentation. This is a 20-question test. You may go back and review the slides and look at the program guide. So you might say this is an open book test. The important thing is that you understand the general rules. Once again, I want to thank you for volunteering. All of the 200 plus teams in the state of Delaware, thank you. We could not have a successful tournament without all of our volunteers, and your time and effort is greatly appreciated. If you do have any questions or concerns about taking the test, you can send emails to training@delcaps.org, and I will respond to your questions. Once again, thank you all for joining in, and thank you for volunteering and helping out the students of Delaware.